In today's episode of the Motorhome Matt podcast,
we unpack how to prepare your motorhome for its first trip post-winter storage.
And we answer your questions about air suspension pricing, emission stickers for Germany, and if gas-free motorhomes are worth it. Welcome to the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights and expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and camper vans. It's brought to you by thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe.
Do remember to follow on your favourite podcast app, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe and that little bell. This episode is sponsored by Ripe, the people who make motorhome and campervan insurance flexible, simple and hassle-free.
I think this time of year often encourages people to plan, prepare and get organised. So if you've ever felt bogged down by insurance paperwork or endless phone calls, Ripe is a breath of fresh air. You can get a quote online in under a minute.
Yep, it's super quick. And the best part, you can build a policy that's tailored to you. Only pay for the cover you actually need.
And for those of you who've spent hours perfecting your van, they can even cover DIY conversions. That's not something every insurer offers.
Yes, plus their European cover is fantastic. Up to 90 days on a single trip or 180 days across the year. Perfect for longer adventures, and it won't be long until we emerge from winter.
Plus, we have a special discount that gets you 15% off your insurance premium.
When you call Ripe, use the code MotorhomeMatt, or simply click the link in the description where the discount is automatically applied.
So this week we're getting ready for the season ahead. Well, getting our motorhome ready anyway. Just start up and go?
No, sadly not. There's a whole load of checks I think you should do before you make that first trip, and we're going to list them for you. And this guide is available to download from That Leisure Shop. I've printed off my PowerPoint presentation that I recently gave at a show where I ran through this. So we can talk through this together, Keith. Rather than bore you with a long list, let's just talk through it and then we'll give you the address of where you can go to get your free copy. So the first thing to do before you start your engines is check all your fluid levels.
Oh, yes!
So open the bonnet and make sure you check the oil, check the power steering, check the screen wash. That's an easy one to forget. Check the brake fluid level, power steering levels. Just check them all. And if you're not sure what to put in them, go to a garage where I'm sure will happily top them up for you, often for free.
Yeah, because some liquids are .4 and other liquids
brake fluid, yeah, that's right. So make sure you fill the right one with the right stuff. And then check your battery connections. Why? Well, they can come loose. So when did you last check your battery connections?
Can't think of the time I did check my battery connections.
So check the starter battery and also check the leisure battery. Just check they're good and tight. It may be worth greasing them up as well. Helps keep the connections really clean and stops corrosion on them. But check they are tight. The reason, if they get loose, that can cause arcing and can cause excessive battery drain, as well as the risk, a very remote risk of a fire. So it's definitely worth checking them.
And check under the bonnet as well for wildlife.
Wildlife, mice particularly. The number of times that our workshops have changed an air filter and it's become the home to a family of mice. I've probably 10, 20 times over the last few years. Mice love it. So do check. If you know how to get your air filter housing apart, just have a look out the air filter and see if mice have made a home in it. They might still be in there. You never know. And they are really prone for getting into a motorhome engine bay. They love also getting into the living area via the seat belt base, the mount, and so check the bottoms of your seat belts that they've not been chewed.
Yeah, you once a lot of podcasts ago told me that if you look at a pencil, a mouse can get in that width of a pencil.
Yeah, a few millimetres. So we got mice at home, so we've had a pest control guy round to help us try and manage the mice in the house, and we've got rats in the garden. It's that time of year, they're just looking for somewhere warm to live, and we tend to catch them in humane traps, and then I release them a few miles away where there's a neighbour we don't like. No, I don't, but we do release them a few miles away, but he's insistent on killing them. because he sees them as vermin, which really upsets Mrs. Motorhome Matt. But we have got various types of trap or poison laid at the minute. And I looked the other day and all the poison's gone. So that, he says, is a good sign. Not such good news for the mouse.
Right then, and you start up your motorhome, allow it to warm up. But haven't you been doing that every couple of weeks all winter?
Well, hopefully you have, just to keep the battery charged up. But it's always important, I say, to let it warm up, let the engine warm up as best it can for 10-15 minutes, get the fluids running around the engine bay. It's not going to properly warm up until you drive it and you start revving it up. But before you drive it, it's really important you check all the tyres. I have this great phrase about making a PACT with your tyres, PACT. Check the pressure, the age, the condition and the torque of the nuts. So you can check your nut torques.
I'm not going to say anything.
I knew you'd like that one. So checking the pressure, obviously. Where do you get the right pressure? You can get that from the tyre manufacturer. You need to know what your motorhome weighs. That's a whole podcast in itself. The condition, you're checking for cracks on the sidewalls, both in and out, and in between the tread, looking for cracks there. And the age, we've talked about this before, there's a little pill on the side wall of the tyre that has 4 numbers, maybe 40, 12, for example, and that means that tyre was made in week 40 of 2012, and the guideline for tyre age is 5 years use or 7 years fitted.
So that 2012 one is well out of date.
Out of date, yeah. This is a guideline endorsed by the tyre manufacturing industry
who sell tyres.
So the cynics among you would just say, oh, so they can sell more tyres.
But if you've seen those blowouts on the motorway, you know, the wreckage by the side of the motorway of blown out tyres, you don't want to be one of them, do you?
No, and this will be coming, I'm sure, from real world experience of tyres blowing out, ripping, treads coming off. So my advice is consider that. If your tyres look really good condition, there's no bulges, there's no fading on the sidewall, they've not lightened in with UV damage, then running them a bit longer, you may choose to do so. Many of us are, for sure. And then, of course, it's T for torque, so just check the wheel nuts. If you've got a torque wrench, that's ideal. If you're not sure or you're worried, take it to a tyre fitter and they will happily check the wheel nut torques.
Yeah, don't over-tighten them.
No, I do know someone that was driving out of the storage site and their front wheels had been undone. Maliciously, and they heard all this knocking and thought, well, there's something not right here, and half of the wheel nuts were missing and the others were all finger tight, and it was obviously done as some prank. I don't know, pretty awful thing to do. So check them, and actually check them through the year as well. It takes seconds to do. It really takes no time at all. Then fire your wiper blades up, just give the windscreen a squirt, get the wiper blades going, check they're all good, and check all the lights as well. You'll need someone else to help you with this, particularly with the brake lights, unless you're parked up against a wall. But just check the dipped main beam, side lights, fog light, reversing light.
Brake lights.
All of them. Just check they're all working, and then you're not going to have any issue. And then we want to go to the living area before we're driving it. So the engine's still running, we're letting it warm up. We want to uncover all our vents. Now, some people do cover up their vents to stop spiders getting in. That's a good idea. You may have fitted the fridge vents, which are designed to be used during the winter. You could leave those on if you're going to be motorhoming and using the fridge when it's particularly cold. That's what those fridge vents are for. They are for winter use, so the fridge is not pulling in too much cold air. And then check all your roof lights as well. Open the roof lights, check they're all working, check they're still there. We had a massive storm last night, didn't we? Just before we recorded this, woke me up. And just check your running of your roof lights has not actually blown open or blown off.
So when you say a roof light, it's not a light, it's...
This is the window in the roof.
Yeah.
So we call them roof lights, but roof window, roof vent. And check they're actually there. The number of times I've spoken to people who are trying to buy one because it's just disappeared. And by this point, it's kind of ready to take for a drive. But I would consider as well giving it, at this point in the year, before you use it, giving it a really good roof down wash. Get any tree sap off of it, bird lime or bird muck, and just treat it to a wash.
Yeah, I noticed the first time this morning, and we're recording this in January, the stormy season. The first rook poo on my car.
Okay.
So things like.
How do you know it was a rook?
Because I've got a couple of rookeries round by me, and and my poo identification skills have been honed over the years. It's horrible stuff. So they start to roost early. So So, don't think, oh, it doesn't matter, the birds aren't here, they're not nesting yet. Believe me.
Gulls are the other one, ran by us.
Oh, what do they eat?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
What do they eat?
Oh.
It's the colours that amaze me.
Oh, don't know. Yeah.
We had a huge one the other day. It was giant green phlegmy
no,
thing.
thank you. That's fine. Right, and then you give it a good airing.
Yeah, get those roof lights and windows open. Give everything a really good air. There's a risk that you've got some bacteria hanging around and mould forming. So airing it out will help get rid of that. If you do find you've got mould, I got into my car that had been stood for a few months because I've obviously not been driving because I've been off recovering from surgery. And do you know what? There was so much mould over the steering wheel and the gear stick. It was disgusting.
Not nice, is it?
No, it was green and really fluffy. You either get that kind of mould or you get little black specks. It's really common. Don't panic about it at all. It's just all the surfaces you've come into contact with and the mould just forms on that bacteria. I'm sure there's a more scientific way of explaining.
No, that's what it is.
Spores.
Yeah.
But if you suffer with asthma, or it can affect me. But there's a supermarket that sells a green-coloured spray called Mould Killer, and you spray it on, just wipe it off. It's brilliant. You do end up driving around in what smells like a swimming pool.
Yeah. Another good tip, if you don't want to go for anything branded, white vinegar.
That white vinegar is brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant.
But then you smell like a chip shop.
You do, yeah.
So either way, you're going to smell of something. But it does treat it and kill it. There are chemicals.
Don't use bleach.
Don't ever use bleach, no.
That is a powerful chemical.
So Valitors will use something that doesn't smell. It's called G101, and they dilute it, and it's quite acidic and it's quite aggressive, but that treats mould really well.
Never use bleach. Never.
No, don't use bleach. You'll be staining all the fabrics and leathers and ruining it.
Yeah.
So get all those windows and vents open. And while you're doing that, check the rubber seals. So most of the windows and vents close onto a rubber seal. It's really worth spraying them with silicone or just get some Vaseline and wipe it around the seals, because that will stop the rubber seal sticking to the window as the air dries out and it warms up. And then it can be really difficult to open a roof light. You're battling with a rubber seal that's stuck to the window, and worse then is it rips it or peels it off. So a little bit of Vaseline or silicone will help stop that happening. I'm very good at turning our mattress and cushions during the winter just to get the air moving around them, but I would suggest just do it again and just checking them for mould. And if you have got mould on them, you're going to need to look at a fabric spray that will kill that mould. This mould spray does do the job. I was told this by a park home owner, static caravan site owner, and they said every spring, early spring, we have a massive problem with mouldy curtains, mouldy mattresses. I'm not sure I want to stay in a static caravan ever again. And he said, we buy this stuff by the box, and we go around and spray them all and vent them all out to get rid of the chlorine smell. And he said it works a treat, and it then stops mould forming for months on end. But then they've got people in them, the heating's on, the windows are open, and they're being used, and the air's moving about, so the mould doesn't come back until the following winter. Yeah. So they swear by this stuff. And remember to open all the cupboards as well. Check the cupboards in case mice have been in there. Hopefully you took all the food out that would tempt them in. But just check what's in the cupboards, give them a wipe round, again looking for mould, and just a way of giving it a good clean before your first use. And do the same with the garage as well. It's very easy just to ignore the garage area.
That's the garage in the motorhome,
in the back.
Not the one in your house. Yeah.
We can clean that out as well if you want. But no, the one in all the lockers, in fact, just go around them and just empty them out and look at what's in them. Do you really need to carry that 4 barbecues around with you, those disposable barbecues, or whatever it is you've been carrying around? I've told this story before, but we sold an American RV years ago, and I emptied the lockers out, and there were 4 house bricks in one of the lockers, and it was like, why on earth are we carrying house bricks around? And we've been putting them on the grass for the disposable barbecue, so we didn't damage the grass.
Didn't burn the grass.
But rather than just take one, we just kept taking one every trip. And we'd had a driveway laid, so we had loads of spare bricks. So every trip we just grabbed another brick.
So what about your bed bases?
So I would lift the mattresses, and if the bed base lifts up, do that and just give it a wipe underneath. It's all about trying to clean and prep everything before you use it.
Right, so over winter you've opened your water drain taps, have you? Or you should have done?
Hopefully you've drained all the water out of it. We've had some cold snaps recently, and if you don't, that causes a load of problems. But in terms of getting the motorhome ready, make sure you've made a note, ideally, of where all those drain taps are. When we're prepping motorhomes for our storage customers, we have a sheet where we note every drain tap we've opened, because some of them are really innocuous places and are very easy to miss. And you don't want to be that first trip where water is just pouring out the bottom because you've forgotten to close one of the drain taps. So many motorhomes have a frost valve, either an auto one. Make sure that that's closed, and then various drain taps at the lowest points of the water system to make sure the water comes out. Same on the fresh tank and the waste tank. The fresh tank, certainly you want to make sure that fresh tap is closed, otherwise you'll never fill it up. Really important. And then whilst talking about water, I would highly recommend you consider treating the water system at this point in the year. If you only do it once a year, this is the time to do it. When we come back to our motorhome after a month of non-use, and we do tend to use ours a lot all through the year, but you get these little black flakes forming in the bottom of the tank, and they're very visible when you flush the loo. Our flush is fed by the fresh water tank, and because the loo is white, they really show up.
Again, is this bacteria?
It's bacteria, yeah. It's a form of mould just forming in the water pipes. And of course, we're going to drink that water. Maybe you choose not to, but we do. And it's not harmful, but it's definitely not very pleasant.
You'd rather not have it there.
No, absolutely. So there's lots of ways of treating the water system. I have been using the Solbio fresh water tank cleaner. It's a single-use product, and it's brilliant. It's really good. It's completely environmentally friendly. You do use a lot of water when you're cleaning the system, but you put it in the full tank, run that water through all the taps, through the shower, through the flush, and you can literally watch this black bits firing out through the system. And then you fill the water tank again and flush that through, and then it's all ready to go. It actually contains a form of hydrogen peroxide, which of course is what dentists use in our mouths, so it's harmless to us. But they've managed to stabilise it with a secret ingredient, and it's highly effective. It's really good. Never ever use Milton in the fresh water, because I know we use it for babies' bottles, but it causes the heater element to rot away. It's damaging to the heater element. So Truma and Alder highly recommend you don't use Milton for that reason.
Right, and what about your waste tanks then?
So at this point you could treat the waste tanks because they can smell. There's lots of waste tank cleaner type products. My advice is don't use Coke or something of other, some other fizzy drink.
You mean Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Or Pepsi-Cola,
yeah.
Or Roller-Cola.
Any cola.
Oh, yeah. Don't use cola.
Or lemonade, for that matter.
Not because there's anything wrong with them. They're good drinks. Just don't use them in your motorhome.
Are they good drinks? Anyway.
Yes.
You love them. The problem is you're putting a form of sugar into the waste tank, which is going to attract bacteria.
Yeah, you're giving food for mould to grow, aren't you?
That's right. And it may not be real sugar, especially if you've used Coke Zero, but you've got other forms of glucose going in the tank, and that is not a good idea. I've been using the Solbio toilet treatment. I'm a big fan of Solbio, as you know, if you listen to the podcast. We use that in our toilet cassette. But you can also pour it down all the waste traps. So I close the waste tap, pour a little piece down each, 20, 30 mil down each sink trap, including the shower, and then run a load of water into the waste tank and leave it. Drive it around, leave it for a few days, and then open the waste tap and drain it out, and it will give it a good clean.
Right, now we are in to the business end. Your toilet. How do you prepare your toilet?
So we take our toilet cassette out of the van.
Yeah.
I take my toilet cassette out of the van through the winter to stop it freezing and to stop any problem with the mechanism through frost or from frost damage. So make sure you put the cassette back in, but give it a jolly good clean at the start of the season. As I say, we use Solbio, and the inside of our toilet cassette is like brand new. You'd never know it had been used. It's so clean because Solbio does such a good job. So treat it, prep it, and get it ready. And really important you keep on top of that.
Flush your toilet as well, yeah?
You give it a good flush, and you will have done this when you're flushing and cleaning the water system through, and you'll see these little black bits coming out.
Right, and now's the time to inspect the pipes for leaks. Look at them. Don't wait for the leak to appear somewhere.
So the risk is if you've left water in the van in the winter, then one of the pipes could crack.
Yeah,
and
because if it freezes, water expands.
That's right, yeah.
Cracks the pipe.
Which is why you always leave the taps open. So I always recommend leaving the shower head hanging down, so you've got gravity on your side, and all the taps open in the middle position through the winter. And at this point, you want to be checking the plumbing. Check all the push-fit connectors that none of them are popped apart, which frost can easily do. So check there's no leaks.
Right, and run your taps.
Run them, yeah, that's right. Which you would have done when you're cleaning the system.
What about your utilities then?
So I would have suggested taking all the batteries out of the van. These are things like clock batteries, carbon monoxide, smoke alarms. Take those batteries out for the winter and then put brand new ones in for the spring, and then test them. I know the beep is really annoying, but I hear alarms going off, smoke alarms or CO alarm going off in our storage yard. I make a point of ringing the owner and telling them you've got a battery going flat in your caravan. Because my worry is when they come back in March to use it, it's not making a noise anymore because the battery's flat. They therefore don't have...
But it's not working.
It's not working, yeah. No. It's not functioning at all. So I tell them you need to put a new battery in your CO alarm, and they're always grateful for that. So do check them. They are a lifesaver, particularly carbon monoxide
They
alarms.
are literally a lifesaver.
Yeah, yeah.
So test your alarm operations. What's your trips?
So if you can, hook the van up and check the mains trip. So you know where the trip is, like the consumer unit?
Yes.
Next to the switch is a button with a T on. It's normally black. Press that button, and when you do, it should trip out. It's a test button. Yeah. And that will tell you you've got power coming into the van, and it will also tell you that your trip is working. And it's shorting out the system so that it's proving the trip is protecting you.
So these things are there for your safety. They're there in case
and it's
of
a way.
short circuit.
The T button is there for you to test that trip.
Yeah.
It's also tests that you've got electricity coming into the van.
Yeah.
The other thing I would do is get one of our plug testers, a socket tester, and put it into every 3-pin socket in the van, and just check nothing as untoward has happened. An earth has come off, or a neutral's come off. Just check.
Or a mouse has chewed through the cable.
Well, there you are. That is possible. I've seen that many times as well.
Yep. Gas checking as well.
So before you really head off on holiday, check your gas system. When you open the gas cupboard, it's normal to have a slight smell of gas, but you shouldn't have it in the van. So fire up the heating, get some water in the boiler, fire up the hot water as well.
But would you have taken the bottle off at the end of the season last year?
Not necessarily.
You won't leave it connected, no?
You could leave it connected but turned off.
Right.
I leave ours in the van. We use propane, so it doesn't freeze until it's way, way below zero. Butane, the blue bottles, will freeze at zero, but it doesn't do any harm. It just means that the gas won't work. No. It won't flow. So fire up the gas system, check the hob, and if there's anything untoward, like a hob flame should be a really lovely blue. If you've got long yellow or orange flames, you need to go and get it checked, possibly just the hob cleaned, and there could be cooking oil that's solidified in the hob that is causing that to happen. So get a gas engineer, a Motorhome engineer, to have a look at it for you.
And what about your awning then?
Yeah, so this is something that the number of times I've wound an awning out and we're on the campsite pitch and it's broken. And I'd either broken it last season and forgotten, or something has happened whilst it's been in storage. So wind it out and get it out. Give it a clean as well. Give it a scrub. Get all that dirt off that tends to collect on the awning fabric, and just check it's working okay. And often the nuts that you undo to lower the legs, they seize up. They're aluminium and they oxidize and they can become very brittle, and you don't want the leg to snap off when you're on a campsite. Better to do it, if it's going to break, in storage where you've got time to replace the leg.
But if they have seized, anything you can spray on them to...
Yeah, a little bit of WD-40. That's a game changer, WD-40. Yeah. Or a silicone spray.
Right, I've got you. And your bike rack as well?
Do the same with the bike rack. Fold it down, open the arms up, undo everything. Again, the number of times things have snapped on my first use, and then one of the kids is going without their bikes. Very annoying for them. So just check everything before you actually want to come and use it. And do this with time, so if something does go awry, you've got time to go off to your local accessory shop and replace the part that's broken.
I've done all this, then I'm covered, and I don't have to do a habitation check, do I?
So that's a great point. This is a great time of year to do a hab check, and I highly condone getting one done. It's a line in the sand where your gas and electricity and all of the motorhome is checked. The following day, something else could change. It is just a point in time where everything is signed off. And they'll also check for damp. So if you've got water ingress that's come in during the winter, now is a great time to fix it before it becomes a massive problem. So I would condone getting a habitation check done, either by a local mobile guy that will come to you, or take it to your local dealership to get it looked at. I'd always recommend a certified habitation engineer, so somebody certified by the approved workshop, which is part of the National Caravan Council, or the MCEA. Those are the two main ones. Or if they're not approved, make your own decision, but check their reviews and see what other people have said about them.
Can't you do a DIY habitation check?
You could, yes, but the reality is the damp meter that the pros use are 700 quid. Yeah. And they know where to look on every model for damp, water ingress, and they know the issues to look for. Some engineers will do what's called a sniff test, where they'll put a meter next to the boiler vent and they're checking for carbon monoxide levels, and they're checking that they're within the thresholds that are safe.
They're not actually sniffing it themselves, they're using a device. Yeah.
They're using a device.
They just don't come along and go, that'll be 200 quid.
Smells all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There would be some that would probably do that. Yeah. But they're looking for electrical safety as well. So there's a whole load of kit they use, which is really quite specialist. But doing your own DIY hab check through the year is a really good idea. Yeah. And if there's anything you're unsure of, report it immediately.
And how much would a habitation check cost me?
Anywhere from, I guess if it's mobile, probably 120 quid. Maybe there's mobile guys charging as little as that, or main dealer rates as big as 400 quid. But I would say it's 200 and something pounds is fairly average.
Right. Okay, check your driving licence. It might have expired, you know.
Exactly. And if it goes out of date, you technically have not got a driving licence. Do you know the date yours expires?
I don't know the date, but I only renewed it about 18 months ago, so okay. I know I'm okay.
Yeah, so you're not too worried at this point in time.
No, my EU driving licence expired, and now I've got a UK one.
Yep, okay. So mine expires next year. And I've got a reminder in my diary. Yeah. And I would always do it 6 months before it runs out.
Yeah, and let me tell you, if you do it through the post office, they take your photo there and then. And I got it 2 days later.
Yeah, you said this really quick.
It was incredibly efficient. Yeah. It was brilliant.
Yeah, Mrs. Motorhome has just done hers. And that took a few days.
Yeah.
Easy to do. And there is a cost. I can't remember what she had to pay.
Yes, it's 20 quid or something.
Yeah, I think it's 20 pounds. Yeah.
It's not a lot of money, but you have to do it, and particularly if you're thinking of travelling abroad.
Especially if you're thinking of travelling abroad. But as I say, if it expires, technically you haven't got a valid driving licence.
Right. What about your MOT?
Check that as well. It's easy to forget when the MOT is due.
Yeah, if you haven't got an MOT, then no matter if you've bought insurance, you're not insured, are you?
Absolutely, yeah. And this is another issue as well with road tax. So we're going to cover this in the future. The issue where people sawn the vehicle, let the MOT expire.
Sawn means it's off
statutory
the road.
Off-road notice, yeah. So which you can do. The MOT then expires. If it's not being driven but it's in storage, are you insured? This is the question that I've been posing to a number of insurers, and it's something we might revisit in the future. My advice is check with your insurance company. Are they still happy to insure you, even though you're not driving it? It could be that they're not. So if something happened, something fell out of the sky, total loss, you may not be covered. Yeah. There we are. So do check that before you let the MOT expire. And then, of course, if you're heading to Europe, there's a whole load of stuff. I've talked about this before. Preparing for a European motorhome holiday is an episode we've done before. And there's a whole ebook you can download on everything you need to get ready for a European trip. But the obvious things to check, your UK stickers.
UK sticker.
GB stickers are out of date now, of course.
Not my motorhome, but it was the car. And I was heading to Europe. I thought I had all my stickers, I'd pre-prepared. I was feeling very happy. And then I got to the Channel Tunnel, put my sticker on the back, and it wouldn't stick because actually the bit I wanted to stick to it was plastic and not metal. So check it with a magnet.
That's a schoolboy error. So what did you use? Chewing gum?
No, I went into the shop at the Channel Tunnel and bought more stickers.
See, most people just wouldn't have bothered. But anyway, that's another story. Anyway, and then head out for a drive. Go for a good half an hour spin. If anything feels different to how you remember it being at the end of the last season, then go and get it checked out. But those are my top tips for getting a motorhome ready for your first outing.
Yeah, a headline beam adjuster, just let me mention that. A lot of modern cars have got adjustment from your dashboard, your binnacle. You don't have to get the stickers. So just double check that your motorhome actually does need the little stickers. Some manufacturers now make your headlights so you can adjust them, and it's so you don't blind pedestrians.
That's right. Yeah. And oncoming vehicles.
Yeah. So that's it. So
there we are. There's the list. Now you can get all of that in one concise document. Just head to thatleisureshop.com/spring. It's an ebook that you can download for free. We just ask for your email address so we can send it to you. That address again is thatleisureshop.com/spring.
Matt, tell me, what's the actual risk of using public Wi-Fi, such as if I'm in a cafe?
Honestly, it's bigger than people think. Public Wi-Fi is a goldmine for hackers. They can snoop on what you're doing, steal your passwords, or even get into your email, or worse, your bank.
What, even if I'm just checking the weather or booking a campsite?
Yep, all it takes is one dodgy connection. That's why I use NordVPN on the road and at home right now. It encrypts everything, so your data's locked up tight. And their Threat Protection Pro blocks malware and scammy websites before they even load.
So it's doing a lot more than just hiding your location.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a digital deadlock for your devices. It runs in the background, no faff and no slowing you down.
Okay, where do people go to get it?
Just head to nordvpn.com/motorhome, where you'll get 4 extra months free, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if it's not for you.
Not bad for a bit of a peace of mind there.
Exactly, yeah. It's a no-brainer.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
It's brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe. It's time for our Q&A, the questions and answers. You ask the questions, Matt, he answers them, and if he doesn't know the answer, he'll ask somebody who does. David Carroll got in touch.
Good morning, Matt. Hope you're feeling well after your operation. You said the other day that the air suspension with the £200 discount is about £1,000. I spoke to the people and they're quoting me over £2,000. I have a Bailey 2014 Peugeot motorhome. Thank you.
Okay, Matt, he's taking issue with you there.
Rightly so. I've cost him £1,000 more than I said. In actual fact, David, yeah, you're right to check this. The company that I was referring to, a company called Air Ride, run by Gary, it's Air Ride with one R. There are lots of companies out there offering air suspension at a range of prices with all sorts of different features. Gary does recall speaking to somebody who'd asked about air suspension on their Bailey Adamo, and he also quoted £500 for their air levelling system as well. Now, their Adamo price is $1,495 retail, plus the £500 is £2,000. So it's worth double checking the specifics of what you're being quoted for. Air ride suspension on a Fiat Ducato, I recall, is $1,295. So it is, with the Motorhome Matt discount, about £1,000. But just quote Motorhome Matt to Air Ride with one R, and they will apply a £200 discount. It is an absolute game changer and something I would suggest worth fitting to your motorhome.
Okay, David, hope you enjoy that answer. By the way, if you are recording stuff for us or writing to us, tell us where you are in the country. We're not trying to track you down. Don't worry. This is not a government plot. We just like to put a little pin in a map to see who we're reaching and where they are. Karen Brierley got in touch.
Good morning, Matt. We met at the Caravan Show yesterday. We were the couple that advised you about the removable stickers for the German unplack emission sticker. As you may have gathered, we are going to Germany this year to the FICC rally, and it's come up on our group chat that anybody travelling to Germany needs a gas certificate for their gas system in the motorhome or caravan. I've asked a friend in the Netherlands. He says it only applies to German caravans registered in Germany. I wonder if you can clarify or throw any more light on it for us, please. We'd be very grateful for anything that you can tell us. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye, Karen. Thanks very much for the question. So, does she need to buy a German gas certificate, or does it just apply to German registered vehicles?
So the gas certificate, it's called a G607, does only apply to German registered vehicles. It was introduced on the 19th of June 2025, and German citizens with a German registered vehicle are required under DVGW to have a G607 gas inspection
Under
certificate.
GGGW?
I don't know what DVGW stands for.
All right.
Yeah, it's a German organisation.
Deutsche
Something.
Fadensprung.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. If you know, let us know.
Yeah, please do.
But what's interesting is they legally require you to have a gas inspection every 2 years. So we've been talking about, is it worth getting a habitation check? The law there now is you have to have a gas check every 2 years. And often campsites and places you might visit, fuel stations, for example, will ask to see the G607. So as a non-German citizen in a British motorhome, you are exempt. You don't need to have this certificate. My advice, though, is if you've got a hab check with a gas safety inspection with it, then take it. Because there's nothing to stop the campsite asking to see yours, even though it's a British motorhome. And if you present them with a habitation check, then they'll look at that and go, yeah you're safe to come onto our campsite.
Yeah, and German Jobsworths, they've got a special name, haven't they? Jobsworth. Aha! There you go, Karen. So you don't need one if you're registered in this country. Russ is in Wirral. Hi, Matt. We're looking to buy a van. It started with the idea of a tent box, which escalated to a T6 camper. But now it's gone further as we want to be able to travel to Europe for a month or so. And I'm old enough not to want to be doubled over when making a cup of tea. So now it's 6-metre vans that we're looking at. One of the options we've looked at is a gas-free van. So it would have lithium batteries, a decent inverter and solar panels. I think it's probably a new concept. I was wondering what your thoughts were. So, can you help Russ?
It is a recent innovation to be gas-free. I think it's become possibly quite a trend as well, because gas is a fossil fuel. So it's seen as not environmentally friendly, which it's not. And post-pandemic, we have seen more and more gas-free camper vans being built and promoted. There are, of course, other power options to gas. Electricity, although it's not very good at heating. Diesel is great at running the heating. You can even get diesel-powered hobs. Not quite sure what your food tastes like. But diesel certainly is an option as an alternative, coupled with electricity for everything else. But people say gas doesn't have a future. In fact, I've said that on stage, and I think it does. I think gas will have a future. callout are still investing in their renewable gas, which we've done an episode on called What's Happening to callout Gas. We released it in February 2024. So it's nearly 2 years ago that they started innovating this, and they're continuing to invest in it. So go and check that out, because it is interesting. And that is a completely environmentally friendly, non-fossil fuel gas. And if that becomes mainstream, then that certainly gives gas a future. So is it a good idea? Yeah, if electricity and diesel works for you, then perhaps it is. Is it a bad idea to have gas? No, I don't think it is. Refillable gas bottles are getting harder to refill. The refill points are becoming fewer and far between. Motorhome dealerships are starting to install them, but many fuel stations are removing them in lieu of EV charge points, which of course is the mainstream.
But also when you're in Europe, they have different sort of gassiness, don't they, than we have in this country?
Gassiness?
Yeah, so
that's the garlic.
Yeah. So you mentioned callout gas, for this country, which is strange, because callout is Spanish for hot.
Calor, yeah. And it's a British product.
Yeah, but it's a British product. But when you go to the continent, gas is handled in different ways.
If you're going to the continent, a refillable bottle is definitely, or refillable tank is the way forward. A safe fill bottle, a bottle like that where you remove it to fill it, you're not allowed to do that in Belgium. They will stop you doing it, and often French filling stations may stop you doing it as well. I've been stopped, so I speak from first-hand experience. A refillable tank may be an option. You do need adapters, though, for the auto gas refill point, because they're different in different countries. Really annoying. And
we must say as well that you mentioned diesel, for your hob and stuff like that. You made a joke, you don't know what it's going to taste like, but we've got to say that the products that they make for diesel-powered hobs and such like are fabulous products, aren't they? And it's not as though you're going outside and going do. None of that nonsense going on.
It was Peter Rosenthal, a journalist, told me about them. I thought he was joking. But no, he's used them for years and loves them, and they are very, very effective. So do some more research into this, and then just choose the best system that fits for you.
How do people get in touch?
We would love it if you did. And I always say, if you have a question, I guarantee there's thousands of other people thinking, wish I'd asked that. Go to mhmp.info/Ask Matt. You can record the question by clicking the orange button, or you can fill in the form and we'll read it for you.
If you're looking for trusted brands and and services, then make sure you visit the Motorhome Matt approved directory. It's at mhmp.info/approved.
And if you're listening, please follow on your favourite podcast app, or if you're watching, click subscribe and that little bell.
And I've got a friend.
Have you?
Yeah.
Just the one.
How do I share?
We would love it if you would help spread the word of the podcast. If you know someone who you think they would find this useful, entertaining or fun, please give it a share to them and tell them about it.